You're watching Color 10 News at 10 in high definition.
Here at 10 tonight, the jet is long gone, but questions linger about a mistaken landing in Taney County. Hello again, I'm David Oliver.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Jennifer Kilman. This afternoon, a Southwest Boeing 737 jet took off from Graham Clark Airport, which is also known as the downtown airport. Sunday night, it landed there instead of the Branson Airport. Now, the question everyone is asking, how did the pilots make the mistake? Color 10's Laura Kennedy is live from the airport with more.
Thanks, Jen. It's really quiet here tonight. This is what it's typically like, but last night there were a lot of passengers around here confused, wondering why they were at this airport instead of the Branson Airport 6 miles away where they were supposed to land. Today I talked to an aviation expert in town who says there's one reason this could have happened. The plane departed from the short downtown airport runway without an issue, but this Southwest 737 jet should have never landed here in the first place.
This is a classic case of pilot error.
Dr. Michael Hines is a pilot and aviation expert. He also watched this story unfold from his home just across Lake Taneycomo from the airport.
That's the end of the runway. I would have hoped that somebody would have looked out the window and said, hey, there's something wrong with this picture.
He says a jet this size usually needs at least 6,000 feet of runway to land.
The city of Branson Airport is only 3,700 feet long.
He says the plane travels so fast when it lands that just a few more seconds could have spelled disaster. From where I'm standing to that white truck is about 200 feet. That's the distance this plane was traveling per second.
Both ends of the runway fall off several hundred feet. If they would have waited 2 or 3 more seconds, that airplane would have gone off the other end of the runway.
We asked airport manager Mark Parent what he thought of the pilots.
After landing at the wrong airport, they did a great job of landing in a very appropriate way.
And he says it certainly was not a typical Sunday night.
That's something we haven't seen in the past.
But Hines feels the landing was nothing short of a miracle. As for all those passengers, they were taken by bus from this airport to the Branson Airport, and they either stayed in town or flown to Dallas, which was the final destination of that flight last night. Reporting live in Branson, Laura Kennedy, Color 10 News.
The pilots responsible for the mistaken landing have been removed from duty. A Southwest spokesperson says both pilots have been flying with the airline for more than 12 years now.
That Boeing 737 typically needs about 5,000 feet to take off, but as Color 10's Brett Martin shows tonight, with perfect wind conditions and the right weight, today's crew was able to get it off the ground and on its way to Tulsa.
Here we go. After hours of sitting on the apron, Southwest Airlines 4013, a Boeing 737, was off the ground.
We're very happy to see that the flight took off safely and is on to its next destination to serve Southwest customers.
Hundreds of people showed up to see history in Taney County after the scary sight last night.
So I looked up on the back deck and it was probably about 150 feet off the ground, or above the trees rather.
Ground crews from Branson Airport were called in to refuel and replace a part on the airliner. Jeff Burt from the Branson Airport says his crews were ready to welcome the 124 passengers on board.
The Branson Airport was operating normally, weather conditions were good, the control tower was open, and the airport was ready for aircraft operations at BKG.
He says the pilot did everything needed to land.
The Springfield approach communicated first with the aircraft, then they were handed off to the Branson Tower, and the Branson Tower cleared the aircraft to land.
Except land at the right airport.
The flight was scheduled to arrive at 5:20 at Branson. The flight was delayed by an hour and touched down at approximately 6:10 at PLK, M. Graham Clark Downtown Airport.
Now the FAA and NTSB are investigating the incident.
That jet, by the way, stopped just 500 feet short of the end of the runway last night. A former pilot who is now with the Flight Safety Foundation says you can credit the technology.
It avoided a real disaster, and it's a good testament to the aircraft itself and the technology that we've got in the air right now. The 737 is a venerable aircraft, been in the air for many years. This version is one of the more modern versions. Good brakes, spoilers, and reverse that saved that aircraft.
The flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder have been sent to Washington, D.C. for analysis. The National Transportation Safety Board will conduct interviews with the flight crew this week. And here is a statement from Southwest Airlines. We have since reached out to each customer directly to apologize, refund their tickets, and provide future travel credit as a gesture of goodwill for the inconvenience.
Missouri Senator Roy Blunt also gave us this statement, saying today he's landed there at the Taney County Airport before and knows how tough it is to navigate planes there. And he gave us this statement again, saying people have every right to assume that they're going to arrive at their correct destination. As a member of the Senate Commerce Committee, I will insist that federal regulators do a thorough investigation to find out exactly what happened in Southwest Missouri. Be sure to stay with Caller 10 News for continuing coverage of the mistaken landing investigation. The newest information is always on our website at ozarksfirst.com. Want to change gears now? Get Jamie in tonight to look at the weather.
Well, you know, and the other factor is, what if this plane had landed not yesterday, but the Sunday before, when we had all that snow on the ground? I mean, if you really kind of think of it that way and how slick the conditions would have been, I mean, we may have had an alternate ending. So at least we had the weather conditions that we had in place yesterday, quiet and dry. And with that quiet and dry weather yesterday, we also had very warm temperatures, 67 on Sunday, the warmest reading we've seen since way back in the middle of November, just a couple of degrees shy of the record high of 69. Well, today was cooler, but it was still above normal. 52 this afternoon. Compare that to the average high of 42, and compare that to last week when, remember back on Monday, a high of only 3 degrees, and then we were stuck in the 30s for several days throughout that week. Outside right now, temperatures have cooled into the 30s. We've actually risen a couple of degrees out at the airport. We were at 32 last hour, now up to 34. I think temperatures are going to hold steady for the most part in the 30s for the remainder of the night across the area. Skies are clear, but we will see some high cloudiness sneaking in shortly, and it looks like that'll set the stage for a partly to mostly cloudy start to your Tuesday. Maybe even a few sprinkles around also to start off the day on Tuesday, but I think they'll be short-lived. The clouds will move out before lunchtime. In the afternoon, looking nice with mostly sunny but breezy conditions. Cooler tomorrow. Looks like highs tomorrow in the low to mid 40s, and even colder than that on Wednesday, but we're going to shoot right back up the thermometer on Thursday as we are in the midst of a very topsy-turvy temperature pattern, and it's going to give you weather whiplash. I'll show you the numbers in a little bit.
All right, Jamie, thank you. Now to a developing story. Greene County deputies are surrounding a home on South Cottage Street. That's off Scenic, not far from James River Freeway. Now, that's because they say a man suspected of firing a shot at an officer is barricaded inside a home there. This all started around 4:30 this afternoon. Springfield police were initially responding to a domestic disturbance, but after the man ran into the home, the sheriff's office took over the situation. Deputies say they have been in contact with the man and they are trying to get him to come outside. It's life in prison for a man who stabbed and killed a classmate. Today, a judge found Gabriel Roche guilty of second-degree murder for the 2011 death of Weston North. At the time, both attended Republic High School. North was found dead in a ditch on Farm Road 178 near Missouri ZZ. Prosecutors believe Roche killed North because Roche believed the victim was a snitch.
Education news now at 10 tonight. Nixa Public Schools has extended the contract of its superintendent. The school board voted unanimously to extend Dr. Stephen Kleinsmith's contract through 2017. The board's vice president says Kleinsmith continues to be an excellent example of educational leadership. This is going to be his 15th year in the district. A salary increase has yet to be determined.
Budget cuts are to blame for a Springfield-based charity letting go of its workers. Now, Victory Mission Executive Director Jim Harriger told Color 10 News 5 positions have been eliminated in the organization. The Branch Bistro restaurant has also shut down. That was located inside the Assemblies of God national offices. Harriger says the board of directors realized expenses had to be trimmed.
In tonight's medical coverage here at 10, Arkansas now has 15 confirmed flu deaths. Almost half of the victims come from one age group, and as Daniel Wilkerson reports, it's not the elderly or the extremely young.
An urgent warning going out to anyone 25 to 50 years old in the state of Arkansas.
We've heard of reports of people being well, seeking care one day, and dying the next.
650,000 in that age group did not get a flu shot, and the H1N1 virus is killing them at a rate not ever seen before.
We're up to 15 deaths, but 7 of those 15 are in 25 to 50-year-old people.
Dr. Dirk Haslow says last year there were 61 deaths, but only 10% of those occurred in the 25 to 50 range.
Last week we had 3,800 cases. cumulative at that point in time. This week, we're up to about 5,300, and in addition to that, we have another enormous stack that we have not yet been able to enter.
The H1N1 strain is the same one we saw in 2009.
We are only aware of one death that occurred among someone who's been vaccinated.
The St. Louis Post-Dispatch reports 9 flu deaths have been reported at Barnes Jewish Hospital in Missouri.
The U.S. Army Chief of Staff visited Fort Leonard Wood today.
What makes Fort Leonard Wood different is the capabilities here are very unique.
Tonight, why General Ray Odierno says this local military base is critical for America's defense. If you haven't already found us on Facebook, here's how. Look for the Facebook icon on ozarksfirst.com.
New at 10 o'clock tonight, a top military general visited the Ozarks today.
That's right. The Army's Chief of Staff toured Fort Leonard Wood and spoke to soldiers there, and he also talked with our Matt Lipoli tonight about why this visit was so important. Matt?
Well, David, it was General Raymond Odierno's first visit to Fort Leonard Wood. He said he wanted to reinforce the usefulness of the training that happens there because it's an integral part of the military's future. Odierno said he called the visit a unique opportunity to relay the path that the military is on with new initiatives like opening up combat roles to women. And because of special victims advocacy classes and forensics testing, he said Fort Leonard Wood is critical in the fight against sexual assault. And from combat engineer training to chemical and biological testing, he said Fort Leonard Wood is an important part of the military's future.
What makes Fort Leonard Wood different is the capabilities here are very unique, not only to the Army, but to all of the Department of Defense. Our unique capabilities in chemical biological warfare, the unique training capabilities we have for CID, the engineer, our engineers, although there are engineers in the Air Force and Navy and Marine Corps, we have some very unique capabilities and engineers that no one else has, and so those are all trained here, and those are all centered here, and for me, that's important as we move forward. It'll be something that we have to continue to invest in as we go ahead.
Odierno said he was very impressed with the soldiers he met today. He was also very appreciative of the community's support for Fort Leonard Wood and the important role it has here in the Ozarks.
All right, Matt, thanks. Now here's Jamie with another check of our beautiful forecast.
And it is going to be pretty nice all week long and right through this upcoming weekend, but the devil is in the details. We're going to find some cold opportunities, if you want to look at it that way, but there are also going to be some mild days thrown in there. Take a look at it coming up.
And now weather with Color 10 News Chief Meteorologist Jamie Warner.
All right, well, where has the cold gone? It's certainly not here now. Temperatures outside, really not that hard to take. It's in the 30s. Well, let's look north. Oftentimes, that's what you do when you want to find cold temperatures. And, well, we can find some cold up there. In fact, you get into Minnesota and North Dakota, you've got temperatures in the teens. That's really not bad for this time of the year and those areas. And then you slip north of the border and you get into areas south and west of Hudson Bay, and we've got temperatures below zero. But, hey, we dealt with that last Monday at this time. Further north and west, this is where you get into the core of the bitter cold. This is where temperatures are minus 20 to minus 30, and that's where the worst of the cold is going to remain for a while. But we are in a pattern that is conducive to sending chunks of that cold southeast into the eastern U.S. And we're going to get grazed by those blasts of cold from time to time this week and into next week. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be a cold pattern ahead. We're just going to have these shots of cold from time to time, and in between we're going to have waves of warmer weather like we saw this past weekend. Now, conditions are quiet across the region. In fact, you've got some rain in the eastern U.S., some thunderstorms spreading across northern Florida. Our next system is actually located right here. It's some upper-level energy that's driving southeast now through Montana and Wyoming. And that clipper is going to be making its way across our area tomorrow morning. And when it moves through, it could generate maybe a few light showers, but that's all I'm expecting. Today was certainly a cooler day. Yesterday we had highs in the upper 60s. Today highs in the low 50s this afternoon. But that's still well above normal for this time of the year. We're going to knock temperatures back a little bit more tomorrow with highs in the 40s. But the worst of the cold with this clipper is going to hold off until Wednesday, but it will be a short-lived round of cold. Let's take you hour by hour. Overnight tonight, again, the clear skies tonight will give way to some high cloudiness around midnight, and then I think to start off the day on Tuesday, we're going to have partly to mostly cloudy skies. Now notice the model generating some rain across southeast Kansas. Watch what happens with that. It slides east across the area during the early to mid-morning hours. And I think this is probably a bit overdone, but I do think we will see maybe some sprinkles move across the region. That's all I'm expecting. And I think by lunchtime, clouds are clearing out. In the afternoon, it looks like we return to mostly sunny conditions once again, but temperatures again will be cooler with highs in the 40s. Now I mentioned this pattern with this trough here in the eastern U.S. Well, what does that mean for us? Well, it means that the flow across the Ozarks is out of the northwest. It means a couple of different things. It means that the Gulf of Mexico shut down. So these systems, when they move through, they're moisture starved, and we're not going to see much, if anything, in the way of precipitation until this pattern changes. It also means we're in a battleground of sorts between air masses, because this northwest flow is also going to be sending those chunks of colder air through. But then those chunks of cold move out, and warm air, which is located just to the west, will come in to take its place. And then the next chunk of cold will come in. So that's why I'm saying we're going to have sort of a seesaw pattern with the temperatures through this weekend and beyond. And it looks like we probably won't see really, maybe that stormy cold kind of pattern like we've been dealing with the last month and a half return until maybe the very end of January going into February. Overnight tonight, skies becoming partly cloudy later tonight, about 33 or so for the overnight low in the area. Tomorrow we'll see a high of about 45. Again, clouds early on with maybe a few sprinkles, but I think we'll see afternoon sun. There's your 7-day forecast. As I mentioned, a seesaw pattern there. 36 for a high on Wednesday. Then it's up to 50 on Thursday. Then it's a high below freezing possibly on Friday. And then we're back in the 40s Saturday with highs in the 50s again Sunday and Monday. So I think there's a little bit of everything in that forecast for folks to love. Not necessarily the precipitation, but if you're a cold weather lover, you get a little bit of that. If you're a warmer weather lover, you get a little bit of that as well.
There's no zeros.
And no zeros, and we're happy to see that. All right, let's give out the Viewers Club number, and you can see it right there on the bottom of your screen, 134-604. Again, that number is 134-604. Check your Viewers Club card. If you have that number, notify us before 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. You are eligible to win $800 if you have that number.
Okay. Jamie, thanks. Missouri State senior Jamar Gully is honored by the Missouri Valley.
Dan Lucy's coming up with sports. He's got the details on that, plus your timeout responses on the DGB arrest.
And now, Color 10 Sports with Dan Lucy.
Springfield police continue to investigate the arrest of Mizzou wide receiver and Hillcrest High School product Doriel Green Beckham, and it could take a while before any charges are filed by the Greene County prosecutor, if at all. That's because police are waiting for test results to come back from the crime lab, and that could take months. Mizzou football coach Gary Pinkel has not suspended Green Beckham or even made a statement yet. Green Beckham was a passenger in a car that was pulled over for expired plates Friday night. The police officers smelled marijuana, and the subsequent search found nearly a pound of pot and drug paraphernalia. Green Beckham and 2 others were arrested and charged with felony distribution of a controlled substance. Doriel tweeted Sunday that he didn't want people judging him without knowing what happened. Green Beckham's father, John Beckham, sent a text message to the Springfield News Leader and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that he's confident no charges are going to be filed. Mizzou suspended Green Beckham for 1 game back in 2012 after he was arrested for possession of marijuana. After taking unbeaten Wichita State into overtime, the Missouri State Bears will face 2 more tough Valley teams on the road, and the Bears will be at Indiana State Wednesday, then at Northern Iowa on Saturday afternoon. But Missouri State will go into the action with the Valley's reigning Player of the Week. The Valley naming Jamar Gully its Player of the Week today. Gully averaged scored 15 points and grabbed 14 rebounds in Saturday night's loss to Wichita State. The senior from Beaumont, Texas, scored a career-high 26 points in the Bears' win at Bradley. Girls high school basketball tonight, Hannah Schumacher and her Kickapoo Chiefs hosting Hillcrest. Hornets getting tested early, the Chiefs with a full-court press. Hillcrest beats it. Brittany Fisher gets the layup. 3-2 Hornets. Kickapoo attacking from the perimeter. Laura Verkant with the triple. The Chiefs tie the game up at 5. More Kickapoo hustle. Sharon Lopez gets the steal and then hits the deck, stays with it, shovels the ball to Hannah Cantrell. She goes down court to Hannah Harding for the layup. It was 14-9 Chiefs. Hillcrest answers with Kelsey Cleaton. She hits this 3-pointer to make it a 2-point ball game. This one would go into overtime. Kickapoo wins it 74-69. Before the game, Kickapoo Lady Chief Hannah Schumacher signing a letter of intent to play college basketball at Tabor College. The 6-foot senior averages 5 points, 8 rebounds a game for the Lady Chiefs. In AAU ball, she averaged a double-double, 12 points, 12 boards a game. Schumacher, one of only 2 seniors on that Kickapoo team. Now back to our timeout at 6. We talked about Doriel Green Beckham and his arrest over the weekend here in Springfield. I said that I felt that most Ozark sports fans are disappointed in Green Beckham's judgment. Now, I understand that DGB has not had his day in court and everyone's innocent until proven guilty, and I'm not going to even speculate on what was going on in that car. My issue is that Green Beckham should have never gotten into that car in the first place. He's got to be smarter than that. Green Beckham is an emerging star in a top 5 football program in America. He's also a second-team All-SEC wide receiver who's going to make millions and millions of dollars in a couple of years in the NFL. I felt that he made a bad decision Friday night, should have known better. In October of 2012, Columbia police arrested Green Beckham for possession of marijuana. He was suspended for 1 game back then. After that brush with the law, DGB should know better. I also feel Gary Pinkel has no choice but to suspend him for at least a couple of games, if not the spring drills. I asked for your opinions. Leanne off Facebook says if he wants to throw away his future on some marijuana charges, then it's his life to throw away. I just hope he doesn't. I'm sure he knows what's at stake. Lori emails, should he be suspended? Are you kidding me? He should be removed from the team. He already had a second chance and obviously didn't learn his lesson. Josh on Facebook says, I think he should be pulled from the team indefinitely. He's a role model for young athletes everywhere. This should have 0 tolerance applied to it. Eileen off of Facebook says, don't suspend him, get rid of him. 0 tolerance. And give this opportunity to a young man who will appreciate it. So lots of discussion, especially on Facebook, about this, and went into some, whether marijuana should be legal or not legal. I don't even want to get into that. It's just, what Doriel Green Beckham needs to be doing. And then we'll see what happens with the investigation as we move forward.
Yeah, we'll see if charges are filed. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Dan, thanks. We'll be right back.
are tonight's winning lottery numbers.
Well, like Jamie said earlier, a little bit of everything for everyone this week.
That's
well, if you like sunshine and cold.
Oh, you know, and I think even on those cold days here, and there are going to be a couple of them, we've got cold weather on Wednesday with highs in the 30s, and then colder weather, I think, on Friday where temperatures may not even make it to freezing. So, yeah, there's going to be some cold days in there, but at least both of those days will have sunshine, and then the other days will also have sunshine and warmer temperatures. In fact, it looks like 50 on Thursday, and I think we're back in the 50s to maybe near 60 in some spots Sunday and Monday.
I took my trash out today and I found three papers out at the bottom of the driveway that I didn't know were down there. They've been covered up.
You know, you're talking about the weather. Yeah. How you get away from the weather is you go over to JQH Arena Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Tournament of the Champions. You know, 4 back-to-back basketball games, and we'll preview all of that.
Did you have enough back-to-backs in there?
I think so. There's going to be this many games.
And locally, we've got Willard and Kickapoo at the TFC.
Exactly, and the best high school teams in the country coming in.
That's right, every year.
We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great night.